All right. Welcome everyone to Warrior Women in Business, episode number 57. This is a very exciting episode on many levels. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you don't know me, my name is Jasmine Sandler. If you don't know anything about Warrior Women in Business, Warrior Women in Business is a very mission-driven organization. Started in around 2016 as a division of my main branding and marketing agency, JS Media, with the whole intention of helping female entrepreneurs and female artists thrive. So we do a lot in the world of bringing in leaders like the woman that I have on today, as well as other fabulous guests that I've been very lucky to have over the last few years to provide their advice, their experience, resources that you can tap into. As well, with Warrior Women, we host and produce and co-host events and different programs in New York City and Beverly Hills, again, supporting female entrepreneurs and women in the arts, streaming for music, which is our main focus today, but other arts as well. And I just want to kind of jump right into our guest today, who's been, I think, a total warrior woman in so many respects for women in the arts. So I'd like to first welcome Shira Gans to Warrior Women episode 57. Welcome, Shira.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to give a little bit of a bio on Shira and why I asked her to be on. But before I get into that, just a couple of things I wanted to mention is if you missed the last couple of Warrior Women episodes, I swear they've really been tremendous. I got to say, I've been so lucky. So last podcast, I had Peter Cuneo, the first male business person I've had on the podcast. He's a former chairman of Marvel. And he talked about how he developed women in the organization over 12 years and basically turned over that company and sold it to Disney. So it was an awesome podcast. Previous to that, I had Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, talking about the importance of really being like water and talked about her new series on Netflix called Warrior. So I've had some amazing guests, and I think we can learn very much from these wise people. So just to mention those. So getting into Shira today, first of all, I love her name. I said Shira, the Princess of Power, but she is the pioneer of New York Music Month. And if you're not familiar with New York Music Month, we're going to talk about it a lot today. But as most of you know, I'm a musician, and it's just so refreshing to see support from a city level to support the arts and specifically music, because it's very difficult to have a sustainable career in music. We're going to get into a little bit about that today. So who is Shira? Shira is the Senior Executive Director of Policy and Programs at the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. And if any of you want to follow them in social media, I found this out. It's Made In. So you just need, a lot of people have been asking me, how do I find them? So it's Made In. She leads New York City's strategy to support the music industry, pioneering the New York Music Month, which I mentioned, a $10 million fund for female-led creative projects. I want to pause here and also say that I formerly had Ann Del Castillo on the podcast from New York City Arts and Culture, and we talked about the Women's Fund, which I'm sure Shira can talk about, and the opportunities for filmmakers and writers as well. So it's just tremendous. So providing $10 million for female-led creative projects, music career education programs. I know a lot of the folks that I deal with as a speaker in the music industry feel saddened by a lot of the diminished funds that go kind of across the country to music education. You know that more than me, Shira, but so it's very exciting to kind of like talk about today what's happening with music career education and the first Mayor's Office of Nightlife. Shira also directs New York City Film Green, where she helps film TV productions reduce their environmental impact. Sustainability is probably the most important topic today, right, in the world. So I'd love to jump into that. She spent her career working to address inequality through positions at the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Office of Manhattan Borough President, New York City Mayor's Office of Management and Budget, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. As you can imagine, a warrior woman, she was featured in Variety's New York Women's Impact Report, which to me is like Variety magazine. I've been a fan and a follower forever. That's a major achievement. So congratulations. Named a 40 under 40 rising star by City and State and a climate leader by Forbes. She holds a Master of Public Policy from Goldman School of Public Policy, UC Berkeley, and a Bachelor of Arts from Wesleyan University. So a tremendous bio.
Thank you. Excited to be
Welcome.
here.
So many achievements.
Thanks.
So I want to start, first of all, thank you for taking the time out.
Yeah.
If anybody knows Shira in New York Music Month and has seen the calendar on the website, it's right, Shira kind of nonstop, and she's running. So, so thank you for taking the time out.
Sure.
And there's a lot of great events going on, including our June 28th event, where we're partnering with the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, and I'll talk about that. But I want to start with like kind of the most obvious question.
Okay.
What inspired you to start New York Music Month? And is there anything in your own personal career development you can talk about that led you to leading this effort?
Sure. Yeah. So well, first of all, thanks for being here. Exciting. A little intimidating to hear the previous guests, but hopefully I'll rise to the
No.
Yeah, so I started doing the music work for the mayor's office in 2016. Prior to that, there really hadn't been a person in New York City government whose job it was to drive partnerships and programs to support the industry. Of course, the city supports the city's cultural institutions like the Met and Lincoln Center, but as far as the industry side went, that really wasn't a thing. And so at the time, my boss was Commissioner Julie Menon, and she had the foresight to add music to the agency's portfolio. And I raised my hand to build that out because I like to build out blank slate things from the ground up. And I was meeting with someone who's a big kind of champion of New York, a big music executive. And he was like, hey, the industry does so much in June. There's conferences, there's award shows, there's big festivals, ticketed and free that kick off. Couldn't the city do something to recognize that? And I was like, yeah, let's make June New York Music Month. And so that conversation was the inspiration for it. But to me, Music Month is really, in my mind, what makes the industry really great to work with. It's very collaborative. And, you get to a certain point in your career, you have kind of corny phrases. So my best ideas come from other people generally. So, we had some things that anchored it. We always have had free rehearsal space for artists, and we've grown that over the years. We have a conference with NYU, a free day-long conference with the NYU Steinhardt Music Business Program, which was just last week. And then the rest is really partnerships where people like yourself come to me with great ideas, and then I'm able to have kind of some thought partnership about, okay, that sounds cool. Maybe this isn't quite appropriate. What if we did it this way? Generally be able to provide some seed funding, a platform for them to do the event. And then it's kind of a build it and they will come. So in the beginning, we had maybe a dozen events. And this year I've worked with more than 30 music industry partners to create a free calendar of more than 30 events, all in June.
That's pretty amazing to do. I have to stop and apologize for the lighting in this room, but I have to say 30 events in 1 month is an insane effort because we're just doing one event this month. And so I really, for all of you listening, it's really a tremendous effort to make it work well. So
yeah,
for those that are listening,
it's a lot. And for me, it's like a little addictive too. It can, kind of be fun because I'll have a slate of programs, but then as we get closer to the month, then people hear about it and then they reach out and it's like, oh yeah, I guess we could do that. Or I guess we could do one more.
Yeah.
Mayor in our office who does our contracts. I'm always at the, towards the end of May, I'm like, this is the last one. And I'm like, just kidding. This is the last one. Oh, sorry. I think there's one more, So that is Music Month. And then I think what brought me to it is a variety of things. In terms of professional content, I've done a lot of public-private partnerships, and I think through my career, I've learned to kind of stay less focused on the topic area. And as a policy person, I don't think that's always easy. That's my background, but to kind of stay focused on what I like doing and what is energizing to me. So when I was at the Manhattan Borough President, Scott Stringer, when I worked for him, I built a public-private partnership to bank the unbanked. And that was bringing together
Interesting.
folks in the financial services sector, and then the nonprofit communities doing financial inclusion, as well as all the regulators at the state and federal level to build this out.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just really fun and it was interesting. I mean, it was definitely a little more, some of the issues were weightier and the difference of perspectives were a little more challenging, I'd say, because everyone had to come together. But kind of, if I think about things in Venn diagrams, being at the center of these things that bring together the private, public, and nonprofit sector, and kind of then community and press, and then in the center are these projects that work. So I did that there at the Federal Reserve Bank. I built out kind of programs for small businesses around access to capital that again involved all those different players. And I was the policy director of the city's consumer protection agency, and my boss at the time, again, Julie Menon, was reappointed to this agency and asked me to come with her to build, to come over to the media and entertainment agency. And at first I was like, why would I do that? Like I do kind of serious policy stuff. And then I was like, why wouldn't I do that? It sounds one, like a little lighter and more fun.
Mhm.
I think it's really important to surround yourself by around ambitious people who have vision, who want to get things done. And Julie's definitely one of those people. And so I just kind of took a leap of faith and have built my career there by, again, doing these things where you bring different folks together to create new programs and initiatives that really benefit the public, but also benefit industry.
I love it. So, talk a little bit about current programs that, I like that you mentioned the small business as well, and I know you also have done work in film. So what are some of the programs that you might be able to list or resources, some of the things that, the artists, the entrepreneurs, the filmmakers might be able to take advantage of?
Yeah, so we definitely encourage everyone to check out the Music Month website. Again, it's nymusicmonth.nyc. There's still a ton of programming happening. It's all free, and it really runs the gamut from things on how to use AI for PR to we had one a few days ago on advancing or entering the music business industry, like to do your career that way. We have a few women focused ones. So on Monday, it's an entrepreneurship panel. It happens to be everyone on it is a woman. So that's a pretty badass panel. People can check that
Yeah.
out in person in the Lower East Side. The following Tuesday, we have one actually with someone I went to college with. It's funny. She kind of found me. We lived in Womanist House together at Wesleyan. And,
Ah,
she's a singer and has her own communications company and kind of reconnected with me around music. And so she's going to do one on From Mic to Sync, and it's going to be a panel of women who've all
okay.
successfully landed sync deals, and it'll be at a female-owned recording studio in Williamsburg. And then
Nice.
there's just like a ton of other stuff that I think, like one of the ideas I have behind Music Month is that New York's a place, right, where you come if you're a striver or a dreamer, you want to do something big, but it's also where
Yes.
you are if you are someone big, and those people aren't always accessible. So I try to, get some of the experts in the field, people who've come far in their careers, to be on these kinds of panels and give people the opportunity to engage with them in a way that, you might not have the opportunity just because of the way the world works. So I think that's a really big resource. Mention the Women's Fund. Applications are closed for the 5th cycle. Those will be
Yeah.
announced in the fall. I'm not sure, to be
I
honest.
think November.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure the future of it. It's a lot. We put $10 million into that fund. So we'll see.
Incredible.
It's yeah, if we do a 6th round, but that's something to keep an eye on, and we'll figure that out in the coming months. And then, like I said, also as part of Music Month, there's free rehearsal space across every borough but the Bronx this year. So should
Oh,
take advantage of that. And some of those spots too have really affordable rehearsal space anyway. And so,
yeah.
it's a way to discover that. And then there's a program I run. This is more a little bit about giving back, but it's called Sound Thinking NYC, which is a program that teaches girls and really anyone in public high schools about careers, specifically in audio engineering and recording. They learn Pro Tools, but then the music industry kind of writ large. And so there's a lot of opportunities for people if they want to be guests, come and talk to the kids, or if you are at a company in the music world and you want to open your doors for site visits, or you want an intern.
Can companies get involved with that, or is that at the
Yes,
school?
yes.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so over 50 New York City companies have gotten involved.
Okay.
And the way the program's structured is that there's a summer intensive, kids apply, and then if they get in, they learn Pro Tools, they have leadership development.
Mhm.
They do a lot of site visits on Fridays. They kind of have these mentorship panels. And then throughout the school year, there's programming. We created a CUNY Now course with the Fierstein music scoring department. So CUNY Now, if you're in high school and you take one of these classes, then the credits will transfer to CUNY. And Fierstein, we actually invested in that in 2015. It's the only public film school, graduate school. It's on a working lot at the Steiner Studio in the Navy Yard. So the kids can go there. And then the following summer, they get to do an internship if they'd like, paid internship. And we also added a paid mentorship component during the pandemic because,
That's wonderful.
yeah, it was too challenging to do the internship. So we still wanted to pay, the kids for that time because some of them are kids who need to have jobs outside of school or just really understanding, the equity aspect of that.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about musicians that whether that they're holding down multiple jobs and they're a musician, or maybe they're a musician and they have a career in the music industry, and they're really looking for ways to develop their careers further. This is a lot what I do as a speaker.
Yeah.
Monetize their careers. Are there any stats you can share or programs that you've done less for the up and coming artists, but more for the established artists that are professional and they have a career in the arts, but it's really not sustainable,
Yeah.
economically. Is there any data you can share or programs or things that you've seen because I get a lot of questions around that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'm the best person, unfortunately, to give insight into that as a bureaucrat, but
Right. No, I just wondered if there were programs or data or anything.
I mean, the data that I have that I can direct people to are more at like a higher level. I mean, there's some reports that folks should just know about that come out of USC Annenberg that offer a lot of insight. So they're not usually that positive, the insight, but actually they have one where they look at, across all the different Billboard hits and they look at it from, gender representation of the artist to the producer to the songwriter. And those stats have actually gotten better. So the one they just did, it's the first time we've seen improvements across most categories. They recently did one on the business side where they looked at 119 music companies, so larger companies, but what they found was that I'm just looking at the stats of the top executives, just 13% were women, and if you looked at the top role, so the CEO, only 3% was women. So I think there's like clearly still a lot of work to be done in those larger companies. I think there's also just a lot of people who are entrepreneurs. And I think, just the advice and what always surprises me a little bit in learning about the music industry, clearly I didn't come from that, is just how complicated the industry is and how people who are, yes, even more established don't really necessarily do split sheets correctly, or they're not, copywriting their work, or they don't understand all the different ways to collect revenues by registering with everything from, whether they're PROs or the MLC or all these different kind of alphabet soup things that are important. So actually, Emily White, who's very fantastic, she's been a speaker at several music months, and she has this podcast, How to Have a Sustainable Music Career and Collect All Revenues. So it pretty much says what it is. I think there's like some great resources like that. And then there's some other cool New York organizations like Gender Amplified, which tries to create kind of directories of women and gender expansive folks working in the industry, particularly, somewhere on like the engineering and side like that. And then there's things like Women in Music. So I think joining those kind of organizations is always important in terms of networking, and then just really like ensuring that you're kind of doing the business side of your work and that you have all of that information. It's like anything really anywhere, but in New York too, like you're kind of ready to go if an opportunity comes. Like I just,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was kind of tapping into. Obviously, I speak in the industry. I'm involved with all those
yeah, you
organizations.
would probably know better.
Those women, the women, I feel that one thing that's missing, just from my own JSM for Artists perspective, is that they don't really understand how to, and you said it very eloquently, the alphabet soup, but how do they tie in if they're doing all of these things? Like a lot of people that I've been talking to about the event that we're doing, they don't even know about New York Music Month, which is
Yeah,
astonishing to me.
no, thanks.
So I'm just wondering how, at what, because my background is not in government, but at what, how do they stay on top of programs that that your office is supporting that may
Yeah.
support what WIM is doing or the Guild, right? Um, a little bit more about that piece because I feel like it's difficult for them to navigate so many things. And when I did a podcast with Anne, we really talked about more about film a little bit, but it was just refreshing to know that there are specific grants and funds. And if there's maybe a newsletter that they can get on, or maybe projects that they can get involved with.
Yeah, I mean they can it's at Made in New York, like you were saying. So when you're on the subway and you see the little round Made in New York logo, that's our office. I think there's some branding issues. People don't always connect the Made in New York to the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. So just like following us on socials, we have a newsletter that goes out. I should know, but I don't. Weekly,
That's
monthly.
okay.
Yeah. In terms of other programs, I think it is really challenging, and that's part of why I created Music Month to have these kinds of programs. There is still a lot of content from previous years that lives on the Music Month website. So there are webinars on all those things like how to make money from music, how to monetize everything. There was some interesting feedback at the Sync panel at our conference last week where just how much you need to be in order and with the other folks on songs that you might have, and that the music
Yeah.
supervisors on the panel have seen sync deals go away because someone's trying to reach out to all the other people in the song to see if they get clearance, and it's like it's too late. So I think just
Yeah.
it's hard, right? Because if you're a creative person and then there's the business side and that organization, it might not be the easiest, but I wish I had some clearer explanation other than I think not only the alphabet soup of those organizations, but things like the NMPA,
Mhm.
these other organizations that are fighting for songwriters, they're fighting for rights, and they do a really good job of letting you know how to kind of advocate for yourself or get
Yeah,
involved on
absolutely.
issues. And so I think the more you're tied into the industry organizations that are advocating for you, and following them and understanding, because it's in their best interest to make sure that is
Mhm.
a good step.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do a webinar series on JSM for Artists, and I've had the Copyright Association involved. And
Great.
they like have a library of information and they spotlight creators, and
Cool.
they're a nonprofit. So that's, to me, that's very interesting. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of artists in general don't understand the power of the organizations or the education. So I like that I talked about the kind of library that you have at New York Music Month. I think people should take a look at the webinars, and not just look at it for events. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, or some of them, because I think we still have it up maybe from 2021. I did 6 months of virtual programs. And
Wow. Oh yeah.
because of the
Oh
pandemic, yeah. I was
yeah.
77 events. And yeah, so all that content still lives. And if there are things that are virtual, then we record them and put them up. But also you can just reach out to me. So I think, like I said, my best ideas come from other people. So if there was a lot of folks reaching out to me saying, hey, these are the kind of topics, these are the kind of things year round, maybe the mayor's office could do, these are the kind of convenings. That helps me because I'm actually the only, like I said, I'm the only person who does this. I don't have a team or a staff. It's just me. So making that case, it's always helpful when I'm saying like, oh, well, here's all the emails or here's the things people are hitting me up about on socials that would be helpful to them. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, collecting the information is very important. And so, yeah, so any of you have great ideas. I mean, with the event we're doing and all that I see, I don't think that creators are short of ideas, but they have to be sound ideas and something that could really sound and something that can help and something that fills I think, a problem or a challenge, and maybe there is a solution, but I don't think the solution can come from one person. So I agree with you. I think that's really great. And I think more and more of the artists should get involved with this and share their ideas, because I've seen easily in the last 10 to 15 years of running events and doing a million things, that there's a lot of independent uh, artists and artist groups that are running different things that are benefiting the community, but it stops in a neighborhood or a borough and doesn't
Right.
have the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, one cool thing that is happening this week that we sponsor is the Antisocial Camp. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, the largest songwriting camp in the world right now, 200 artists, half from New York, others from other, LA, Nashville, other places. And I think that's like a great example. Danny Ross is someone who started that, and he kind of had this vision as a producer and a songwriter of, and I don't buy the narrative that everyone's gone to LA or Nashville, but like, hey, New York's this place that does have all this stuff going. Let's keep it on the map. Let's build this community and let's make commercially viable music in a way that's more open source rather than, oh, there's a songwriting camp because a label put it together, a publisher for an artist. It's like, and it's really cool to see what he's built over 4 years. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a whole packed week of events. There's 200 artists and there's really cool music being made.
Yeah, songwriting is my favorite thing. And I think, and that brings, it brings the people together. And I don't understand why New York wouldn't be a leader. And I think that it is a leader, you know. It just seems to, like you said, I mean, the labels tend to go Nashville, LA, but gosh, there's so much talent here. New York.
It's like because people don't have living rooms or something. It's
What's that?
like there's not a place with a couch. I'm like, there's definitely a place with a couch in New York. Like, I get that it's not like as spacious as far as LA or Nashville goes, but I think some of those kinds of weird
New Yorkers have to be the most resourceful people. I say it every single day.
Yes.
So just to end off the little bit off the path of music, but just wonder if there's anything. I mean, you have such a tremendous bio and lots of experience. I always ask my guests if there's anything that you would want to share about your experience as a woman in business, really,
Yeah.
coming up in that, anything that you've learned that you want to share that you think could help, not just female artists, but I have a lot of female entrepreneurs that listen in that, have challenges as they move along in their business or projects, and some of them are corporate.
Yeah.
So anything that you think has been a maybe transformational in your career, whether it's a mentor or a challenge that you've overcome.
Hmm. Let me ponder for a second. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges everywhere of being a woman who's successful. And I think, it's kind of this idea of, which I've tried to embrace, not always successfully, of leaning into the thing that maybe is like the problem, or as someone who's a very direct person, I think I have an ability to distill like the heart of issues and what's going on in a way that sometimes people don't want to hear. Like, I'm often the person who says the things that other people are thinking, or we're trying to put their finger on dynamics that are uncomfortable. And, just, I think even being often in female-led organizations, like all the stuff around being a woman or being a people pleaser or being likable or
Yes.
available are still there. And even if your boss is a woman, that doesn't mean that's not going to happen. And kind of figuring out, like, if you stand up for yourself or you draw a line, like sitting in that discomfort and kind of working through it to say, okay, that needed to be said. And the reaction to the fact that it was said, that's not the reaction we should be focusing on. Like, it had to be said. And because I said it, I didn't create it, right? I just,
Yeah.
and getting a little more comfortable in that. And I mean, I've had organizations where I've seen men be promoted for behavior I was chastised for, and sort of
Yes.
making a decision of like, this might not be the right environment for me, and it's not my job to change this culture. And it's also not their job necessarily to change the whole culture, because, I mean, great, ideally they would, but, so I think just kind of that discomfort isn't always a sign that something's wrong or that you did something bad. It's just sometimes it's like uncomfortable to sit with things you have to call out or move through, and then all you can do is kind of name it and address it, and then it's not all on you, right? And then you're gonna have to make
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love what you said for so many reasons. First of all, Peter Cuneo in the last podcast, he has a podcast called The Superheroes of Leadership. It's amazing. Anyway, so he has 32 essentials of leadership. I mean, he turned around Marvel. So
Okay, yeah.
uh, so anyways, and I picked, I think, four or five that I loved before the podcast, and I wanted to talk about them. And one of them, I mean, you really talked about, I mean, really this point of, you didn't really say it, but leaving when something doesn't make sense and making a decision that could be extremely hard. So you talked about, if that environment isn't good for you, you might not be able to change it maybe that day, but you know yourself that you need to say something and move. And I feel like a lot of the entrepreneurs, and definitely a lot of the artists that we work with, get stuck. And because I think that they are, I don't know if they're not aware, but or they're maybe afraid of being uncomfortable and being, like you said, saying what's on everyone's mind. And yeah, I think that can be very freeing, and also it inspires growth.
Yeah, I have this story that I kind of love where I had a friend who's from China, and I was having a really challenging time at this job, and I had kind of been having a challenging time for a while. And he was like, "Oh, we have this Chinese proverb, if you have a glass of milk and you want wine, what should you do?" And I was like, maybe you ferment it, maybe you come up with all these processes. And he was like, no, no, you pour it out so you can make
Yeah, I was thinking,
and I was like, oh yeah, like instead of trying to go through all these crazy things to make this thing into something else, just like just make space for something new. And I was like, oh
yeah,
yeah.
make space for something new. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's really, really true, though. It's really, really true. And I think, in any creative endeavor, whether it's an entrepreneur or an artist, you know, maybe one idea doesn't work, and maybe you can shift, and letting go. And like you said, replacing the wine with the milk. Or your friend said, I absolutely love it.
For now.
Uh, yeah, it's brilliant. So I also asked my guests, what does the term warrior women mean to you? Warrior women in business, warrior women, when I said to you, I'd like to put on an event with called the Warrior Women Battle of the Bands. What did you think?
I mean, I think it's so integral to being a successful woman because it often feels like you're, kind of going to battle in these ways that shouldn't necessarily be the case, or particularly if you live in New York. I mean, it's not just women, right? But just the challenges of kind of,
Absolutely.
I love New York. I worked for New York City government for, I don't know, maybe 16 years or something, 17 years, but it's just like a lot. And so I think if you want to stay dedicated, I would imagine too, if you're a creative person, you kind of have to have this dedication and ferocity to do it. And I think that is also, yeah, like what attracts people to you. That's kind of what I
Yeah,
mean.
absolutely. Anything that you want to, I know we only have a couple minutes left. So, and before I talk about our event, I don't want to dismiss anything. If you want to share anything about the month or any other resources or anything that you think is important, please share.
There is actually one thing I forgot to mention that I announced at the conference last week that I'm personally excited about. I've been working on it for a year to get to the announcement, and that's that we're going to be seed funding a public music business undergraduate degree at Brooklyn College.
Wow, it's a big
Yeah,
deal.
so that's gonna
Congratulations.
thing. It's gonna be the
Yeah.
first public music business degree in New York City.
Hmm.
It's a CUNY, it's $7,500 a year. It has 75% students of color. It's like third on the least debt list. And we're going to be doing it in partnership with the industry, really, to ensure that the curriculum is reflective of, what you need to know in order to get hired. So we're definitely going to be looking for kind of feedback and input from folks about either if you are a business owner and you have thoughts about what you'd like kids to be learning, or if you're someone who is facing challenges. I was even thinking the other day of like, oh, should we have a continuing ed component where there be certificates or things in the
Yeah,
industry
no,
that
that's
people
honestly, I got to tell you, that's a great idea. Really great idea, because I teach at UM Frost and MI, and that's just, from my small experience, that's in demand. So
yeah,
pipe in, that would be
I
really
think
good.
it's gonna be a 3-year rollout, but yeah.
Well, that's amazing. So where is the campus anyway?
So the campus is kind of I mean, I live in central Brooklyn. It's like if you took the 2 line to the end, then you would be at Brooklyn College.
Oh, like New Lots Avenue.
Kind of like there by like
Way down.
King's Plot. There's like a big mall there.
Um,
So yeah, and it's going to be a joint effort between their liberal arts college and their business college.
oh,
So
wow.
with a minor in business.
That's really exciting. That's really exciting.
Thanks.
Someone asked me yesterday, because I'm traveling, and I was telling them about Juilliard because I study advanced vocals at Juilliard, and they said, "Oh, where are the music business schools in New York?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really know that many because I don't come from the background." So I said, "Well, I know there's many efforts going on with music career education, so this is tremendous." I'm
Yeah,
really
there's
putting my,
NYU right now, which is of course amazing.
I mean NYU, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's NYU, you know. It's not necessarily in everyone's reach either just from getting in because it's so competitive or
It is
financially.
extremely competitive.
Yeah.
You know.
So this
And
is
this
not
would be the
really,
first public.
yeah, it's like a compliment to a program like that where, yeah, it's going to be public, it's in Brooklyn. And, for me, it's like I work with a lot of folks in the industry who say they want things to be more diverse. And I was like, okay, cool. So we're going to create this program and you can give these kids internships and then, you can hire them and it kind of makes it easier to hold people's feet to the fire a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So one major thing I want to talk about is how I asked Shira to be on the podcast and also how I reached out to her. So I have since 2019, I've been wanting to put on a battle of the bands where everyone wins. The mission of JSM for Artists and Warrior Women in Business and Warrior Women in the Arts is all about helping artists monetize their talents in a nutshell. So since 2019, I've been wanting to do this, and there've been about 1 billion obstacles. And I contacted Shira. I swear it was like within 24 hours. She's like, "Okay, let's do this." I said, I couldn't believe it. So on June 28th, we are hosting this female battle of the bands at the Musicians Union Hall, which is has a 100-year history. Sure, I told you I went the other day.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Frank Sinatra recorded there, Michael Jackson recorded there, Ella Fitzgerald recorded there. It's a truly historical music space in New York City that I cannot believe as a musician I never knew about. And it's right in Hell's Kitchen. It's very easy access. It holds about 200 people, so there's no reason you guys shouldn't come. And so we have 5 fabulous bands, including my band. And the whole purpose, the mission of the event is to help female musicians get paid for their efforts and help women in music, which I know many, many of you in New York City understand that there's a community, there's pioneer and warrior women like Shira that really are giving us opportunities, grants and programs to develop our careers. And as she mentioned, Brooklyn and everything that's going on. So Shira and her team, I'm assuming, are a part of this and are a partner and will be
Yeah.
speaking. And so we're going to have 5 bands. Everyone wins. We're going to have, so we're doing gift bags. It's going to be great. So it's June 28th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I wanted to end New York Music Month with my event. So it's at the end of the month and the information is on the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment website. It's everywhere. Tickets are available. It's free. That's first of all. And there's no barrier to entry. And I've had so much positive feedback. Like within one Facebook post, I had 20 bands reach out to me and say,
wow.
"Jasmine, can I be on the bill?" I was like, "Oh, no, it's already filled, but maybe we'll do another one." And everyone in my little community is super excited. So I hope you all can join our event, June 28th. All the information we'll put in the show notes. But furthermore, there's other things coming up every day this month. So we'll put that in the show notes. You should all attend the free rehearsal space. I take advantage of it. It's amazing.
Which one do you go to?
I go to several. So
Okay.
I partner with Funkadelic Studios. They're actually for this event, they're providing the drum kit. because they didn't have the drum kit we needed. So they're a music equipment sponsor. I work with Astoria Soundworks, always promoting them. I've probably been to every music rehearsal studio and recording studio in New York City
Wow.
because I really want to see this community thrive. There's so
Yeah.
much talent here and so many people that want to give back, get involved, have, like you mentioned, Shira, great ideas. So, so I encourage anybody that's listening or watching to the podcast today to get involved, come to our event, come to the other events that are listed on the website. Shira, is there any other contact information you want to share with anyone that wants to reach out?
Yeah, you can email me at sgans@media.nyc.gov. So it's SGAN as in Nancy, S as in Sam at media.nyc.gov, or, all the other ways, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff.
Very resourceful woman. So I want to thank you so much for A, being on the podcast, B, helping us really to be the one to help us make this event a reality. It's going to be tremendous, and all the Warrior Women in Music are very, very excited, and all the other women's music organizations. So I really want to thank you for all your efforts. It's no easy feat as a single woman show. So I want everybody that's listening and watching to help Shira, reach out to her with your ideas, your resources, anything that you think, hey, I looked at the calendar to see what she's doing. Maybe she could benefit from this, or their group could benefit from what we are doing. So please reach out.
Yeah, and also I will say if you have an event, there's a community calendar on the website as well where you can add your event. So, yeah.
Thank you. So I'll put that in, we'll put that all in the show notes today so everybody can take advantage. June is flying by. We're already on the 13th. It's nuts. So we're halfway through the month almost. So yes, so everybody take advantage. We'll put it in the show notes today. If there are any questions that you have for Shira or me about what we do or what Shira does, shoot them over to info@Warrior Women in Business as well, and we'll make sure Shira gets any information. And I hope we'll see you all June 28th, and I hope we'll see you at the other New York Music Month events. So for episode 57, I'm going to be signing off again. My name is Jasmine Sandler, and I want to thank Shira Gans for being on and all the great things she's doing for New York City.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.